Today on Community Watch, I have a conversation with Shadae Yancey, owner of Jamwich food truck restaurant. She is a fascinating person with a great story. You don't want to miss it. Community Watch starts now. Welcome to Community Watch. I am thrilled to have with me today Shadae Yancey. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Now, I was going to say owner of Jamwich, but you are much more than that, really.
Yes.
Owner, chef,
Operator, chef.
menu designer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are probably about 10 other titles.
Yes.
Would not fit on a business card.
No.
And this is your 11th year.
We're just now starting the 11th year. August 21st was 11 years, and we're really excited about what we're bringing and our goals that we've set, and it's exciting.
Well, and you can tell me if this is still true, but I always had the impression that for restaurants of any kind, longevity was just rare.
It is.
So 10 plus years is
Mm-hmm.
rare.
8.5 as a 9 as a brick and mortar, and now 2 successful years as a food truck.
Well, let's go back to the start. Now I do have to mention, we won't spend any time on it, but you did attend Georgia Highlands.
I did.
For a time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
Yes.
And so we like to make those connections
Mm-hmm.
with folks in the community who have been to Georgia Highlands. That was just a couple of years ago, though.
It sure was. Absolutely.
Yeah. Now you kind of have restaurant and food service in your family. You inherited this to
I
sort
think
of a
so.
degree.
Yes. Cooking, well, the love language of cooking is definitely stems from my family. I grew up at Cloudland, Georgia, with my grandparents living just a stone's throw away from me, and my grandmother canned and preserved, and both of my parents were in the kitchen all the time, so it was it's our culture. And growing up, being out in the orchard and picking fruits and doing that alongside my grandmother, I always said, I'm never going to do this again. This is torture, punishment. And then here I am, utilizing fruits and still picking fruits, during the seasons, and but working with fruit and really taking what I was taught as a child, and being creative with it and creating a brand that's unique in all the ways. It really gave me the niche that I feel that you need in a restaurant concept in order, when you're not a corporate entity, in order to have the longevity with success.
So the concept, well, explain the concept to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the concept of Jamwich was conceived by me combining my passion for jam band music and music of all kind with the art of canning and preserving. And it was actually my ex-husband's idea back in 2011. I wanted a restaurant and was, discussing it with him and what I wanted to do and where I saw myself. And that Thanksgiving, my mother had made cranberry orange jam, and it was after that holiday that we had leftovers, and that was when I actually created the orange turkey jamwich with the ingredients that I had in my refrigerator, just utilizing that jam. And my boys at the time were 2 and 4, and I made these sandwiches for lunch one day, and they ate them. And Michael said, you want a restaurant, but maybe you need a sandwich shop that utilizes your mother's jams. And he was like, if these kids will eat it, adults will eat it too. Yeah. And that was the light bulb. And 2012 was spent with a blank notebook, writing out my ideas, my thoughts, creating recipes, and using my family as focus groups, which I still do, and close friends. And I wrote a business plan, and I sold it to 3 separate investors, 2 which are out of state. They're my silent partners, and then 1 that was here locally, an angel lender. And I worked really hard for the first 3 years to pay all that back. And it was just a blessing at how the manifestation of it all. And still to this day, those around me that were closest still remember my notebook. And my hairstylist, he's like, I remember you coming in and having your hair done and with your notebook and telling me what was on your mind that day, or what sandwich you had created. And so it really started, the conception of that started there. And when I had when I had finally had the working capital, I had started to, determine where I wanted to open my location, if it was going to be in Summerville, Georgia, if I was going to do it here in Rome. And Mr. Bobby Lee Cook, who is a relative distantly, and through my firstborn, and great family friend, and also a resident of Cloudland, Georgia. He had a vacant property at 510 Broad Street that was his, and I went to see him one day and was talking to him about some of the demographics of Summerville and some properties, and he said, you need to go to Rome. He said, go check out this location I have. And it was where the Victorian tea room was formerly located. And so it already had a kitchen, all the electrical requirements and all of that. So it was basically just an interior build out and a plug and play situation with equipment. And it worked perfectly.
I never knew the Bobby Lee Cook connection. But that makes great sense.
Yeah.
And how lucky for you.
Yes,
that
was
available.
The Bobby Lee that's on my classics menu was his favorite sandwich. He loves a hot pimento cheese with tomato, cold tomato. And that was, so I was like, I have to salute him on there. And then we have the Jam at Bobby, which is the Jamwich side of the menu, which is basically a BLT with old-fashioned pepper jelly and the homemade pimento cheese. And so I've had pimento cheese eaters for 11 years tell me I don't eat pimento cheese, and it's like, just try my pimento cheese. And they're now pimento cheese eaters. So, and I take my product, although it's sandwiches, I take my ingredients very seriously, using very premium products. We make everything from scratch, and my pimentos are actually shipped from Argentina. They're an imported item. And
Seriously?
Yep. And I have 3 ingredients in my pimento cheese, and it's all in technique and marination.
Now, what is special about pimentos from Argentina?
It's just the taste. It's not, they have a different flavor. And a lot of people, they'll do a cream cheese, or they'll put multiple cheese blends. And, with ours, I like a soft pimento cheese, something that's gonna, that melts well, but that stays together. And I really, I think that when you try Jamwich, that's what you taste, the premium ingredients and the love that goes into the art of cooking.
Now, the process when you were first opening, the location was a fortunate help.
Yes.
But just getting started in a restaurant has got to be overwhelming.
It was.
I mean, even for someone like you that has support from the family,
Mm-hmm.
It's just got to be huge.
It was 3 years, blood, sweat, and tears, and I wasn't sure if we were going to make it. There were days and that your open signs on, but it was such a unique concept that it really took word of mouth to bring people in, and one person trying it and be like, oh, this is so good, you've got to come. And so it was a very patient process, but it also allowed me the opportunity to figure out what I was doing, because although I grew up, in restaurants and in the kitchen, I never worked in a commercial kitchen to gain that experience, and I didn't go to college for culinary. I went for marketing and advertising. And that played its role in my career as well. So really learning how to set up my kitchen, the ebb and flow of things, and I was very fortunate that some of my earliest employees were there and was so dedicated to the work and were there with me every day, and they helped me to create just the flow of the kitchen and how we were to operate and how it works best. And because you've got with those that work in kitchens, everything needs to either move from left to right or right to left. You can't be doing circles. So and so it was a lot of trial and error, but those first 3 years were a lot of trials and tribulations, but I figured it out, and it got us over that initial hardship of introducing people to a concept that is deliciously weird, but so traditional. They just, it's as traditional as peanut butter and jelly, or as, jelly on a biscuit with sausage, but we just took it to a next level.
Yeah.
And
so
I
really,
think,
it's a concept that people don't even think about, but it's already part of
yes,
their...
and now people, especially our customers, it's they're like, oh, I put jam on my sandwiches now, or my child likes for me to put jam. They'll eat a grilled cheese with strawberry jam on it, and so I take pride in being a trailblazer in a way, and showing people to. Just to expand your palate and to step outside the box sometimes. And
so how did you deal with the pandemic? You were still in the store then.
We were, yes. The pandemic hit hard, but it was my faithful and most loyal customers that helped us through. I mean, just like everybody else, you have to stop and reposition yourselves and think, okay, we've got to go into survival mode while also protecting the community, protecting ourselves, without closure. So we started to, we had, indoor dining was closed. We started doing meal packages, and we would do barbecue plates, and I did my grandmother's meatloaf recipe, and our customers would come and buy meals from us. They would buy jam. But it was those envelopes that were delivered with just the generous people sending money and saying, take care of yourself, pay your bills, pay your employees. And we received thousands of dollars during those first 6 months.
That's spectacular.
It was very heartwarming, and that let me know that I am a footprint in our community, that we are appreciated, and that what we do is far beyond food. And I think that's what I miss about having the brick and mortar are my customers, and connecting to people that need assistance in ways that you wouldn't necessarily know if you were just to pass them on the street. I had people that were homeless that would come in, and they just needed food. I never turned down a hungry mouth ever. And that's the outreach that Jamwich was in love. And you can do a lot of things with food. And that was when I decided to go into this career. I, explored medical, I explored teaching, and food just kept coming back to me. And it's like, you eat after a wedding, you eat after a funeral, you eat at night with your family. Like that's the heart of the home is the kitchen, and where most families are so busy, they come in and that's your first time to say, hey, how was your day? And so food is healing, food is fun, and it should be nourishment to the body.
Far more than food, just like you said. You need to write that down.
Yes.
We need to take a quick break, but we'll be back with much more. Our guest, Shadae Yancey, so don't go away.
The most affordable bachelor's degree in Northwest Georgia is right here at Georgia Highlands College. High quality and career focused. That's what you can expect at GHC. Apply today at highlands.edu.
Welcome back to Community Watch. I'm having a conversation with Shadae Yancey, the owner, et cetera, of Jamwich,
Yes.
now in its 11th year of existence. And before the break, we were talking a little bit about how you survived the pandemic. And I'm beginning to get a sense of how, not only how community-minded you are,
Yes.
but how much and what different ways a community reconnects with you.
Mm-hmm.
It is as if you have with your food built a community.
Mm-hmm.
And so your customers are not only loyal to great food, they are connected with you personally. And
Yes.
many of the concerns that you have, they share or will assist you in them.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned feeding the homeless, and I know you had a big impact with a particular homeless gentleman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Carl Booth. He and I became friends shortly after Jamwich opened in 2013. The community would remember him as Carl, the cart pusher. He would always push a cart from like a grocery store, and always had cans in it. He would pick cans up, and that was a way that he would get money. And over the years, my staff and I took care of Mr. Carl. He came in wanting potato salad and a hot grilled cheese with yellow mustard. It eventually, turned into a relationship where we were looking out for Mr. Carl with some of his medical needs. And it started out buying knee braces or different medicines that he needed. And as the business matured and Mr. Carl grew older, his needs became more excessive with him needing to be taken off the street and having a comfortable living space. So through our friendship, I learned a lot about Mr. Carl and how he came to reside in Rome, Georgia, and how his family, he was born in Ohio, and he was born into slavery, and they had escaped one night with his mother and his other siblings, and they ended up, they were on the back of a pickup truck, and they made it all the way down to Rydell, Georgia. And from there, he found his way here to Rome, and he had a normal, what we would consider a normal life. He was married and worked for the city for several years on the road crew, I believe. And but things happened, and we're all, I feel, maybe just one choice away from losing everything we have.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened to Mr. Carl. And he just, in those early days before he and I met, maybe in his late 30s and 40s, and I think that he just kind of accepted where he was, radical acceptance. And but at the age of 70, you can't necessarily sleep by the river anymore.
Yeah.
And so I was fortunate enough to be there for him, and I made contacts with Social Security and worked to get his birth certificate and to get some type of income coming in. And the relationships I had with the ladies at the high rise here in Rome really guided me in the process of how we could apply for his housing. And in May of 2019 or May 2020, he had grown pretty ill, and the community had fundraised, and we were able to keep him sheltered in a local hotel until that approval process went through. And so that year in May, he moved in, and he lived there until his passing this last November. He died very peacefully, and we gave him the funeral that his heart desired and the burial that he felt so strongly for. So,
well, you obviously took his situation deeply to heart, but I'm just impressed with not only what you did for him, but what all of your supportive community folks, in different ways, and not to the level that you did, but they each seem to have an important part of it.
And I think that's the power of social media, when you use it in a positive way, and you're able to share things, and it wasn't just me. It was strangers that came through and made donations and helped furnish the apartment, and it was just a godsend. And I think that I was chosen for the situation, and I'm very happy that I could have been there to have learned the process, and to know how he was the same age as my grandfather. And so to me, I think that's where my heart was the most tender, is, you've got these two men that grew up very different lifestyles. And, Mr. Carl didn't have any children, very few family, but they didn't live, around here. And he was disconnected from them. So it was just a little help from a friend. And I think that's probably the second greatest accomplishment that I may ever have in life, next to opening the restaurant. And
well, that's a great story, and I think the way you're able to get people together in that way is really just part of who you are, and I think it says a lot about your restaurant as well. Let's talk a little bit about the food truck experience. Which is what you're doing now.
Yes.
Jamwich is a food truck.
It's a food truck now.
How has that been?
A learning experience that I daily congratulate myself. I'm like, you've done a good job, Shadae. I went from a 2,800 square foot brick and mortar down to a 7x16 trailer. When Jamwich closed May 28th of 2021, I took some time off to build out the food truck, but my good friend Carrie, she used to own Cupcakes around the corner, and she had already planted the seed about 2 years prior to that, and she was like, hey, I'm going to get a new food truck. I think that you should buy this. So the seed had already been planted. I just didn't have the confidence in myself to tow and to hitch, and it just seemed so dangerous, and that's a man's job. So and then after the decision had been made to close the restaurant, like I said, I closed at the end of May, and then on in July 5th or 6th, right there around the holiday, I went to see her and bought the trailer. Had no idea what I was going to do with it, but she gave me a cash price that I couldn't resist, and I thought, well, maybe I'll let Jamwich just go, and I just couldn't. I could not do it, and so I kept what equipment that I absolutely needed, and had I had a local mechanic to do the build out and to fabricate. They literally cut my heavy stainless steel tables and to fit the way that I needed it to, and it is directly the opposite of what my kitchen was in the brick and mortar. At the brick and mortar, we worked left to right, and in the food truck, we worked right to left. So
It's like learning a new language.
yeah, but it was exciting, and it restores some of my passion, and it definitely made me face a few fears. I bought a Tahoe for towing, and I taught myself how to hitch and to tow and to back up, and I don't have backup cameras, so really doing this, the old school way, and you never know. You just have to be prepared. There are times that I've went through some wheel bearings now. I've learned about that, and I've learned, just the mechanical side of having a food truck. And so, but I do have a great team behind me that is there just a phone call away in emergencies, like, when we show up with a flat tire, but I don't have a spare with me, and roadside assistance won't come. So they travel to Chattanooga to help me with a flat tire, because we pull up at a wedding and we have a flat tire that I've driven on for 20 miles to get there. So, but you have to show up, you have to be there. But it's great. Now we say we spread jam, we're spreading jam all over Georgia, and sometimes in Tennessee and Alabama. We've got some work this year in North Carolina. So still, the word of mouth, as powerful as it is still working in our favor. And with each new job, and whether it be a private catering for a corporate entity, or if it is a brewery that's local, and with their events, every day now we see new customers that are as excited as the ones that we've been feeding for 11 years. And for me, that continues to put passion into what I do, because it excites people, and it's a unique concept, and so it keeps it alive. And because after doing this for 11 years, there's very few sandwiches that I'll still eat or that I get a craving for.
Right.
And we've got a new one coming out, so the creativity is there's no roof on that. There's no ceiling. So,
well, it does seem like there is a food truck boom, may be too strong a word, but I'm seeing more and more of them.
And I think that has been a product of COVID, and being a plan B for a lot of restaurant owners, and the demand there. But it's definitely trending, and I'm hoping that it's a trend that'll stay trendy for another decade or so. But now working with these breweries, we've just finished this past summer working with River Remedy and Jamwich. They have taken our most loved dessert, the jam bars. They took those ingredients, and our first one was a sour seltzer called the Hana How, and it was lemon or pineapple with strawberries and oranges. And we have our second one that's called the John Lemon Sour. We actually will tap it on Wednesday of this upcoming week, and it is a lemon blueberry sour. So, all these unique opportunities are being presented to us, and we have the new sandwiches coming out. It's called the Dirty Vegas. I have not had a new Jamwich. The creativity and that kind of stuff, I've just kind of felt it more so lately. And when I had this idea for the sandwich, I thought, this is going to combine all of the elements of my Southern heritage with growing up eating collard greens and meatloaf, and you've got to have macaroni on the table and cornbread and all of these wonderful things. And so I thought, now how can I take and make this something that is as weird as Jamwich? And so I have created a blackberry meatloaf with a collard green slaw, and it's going to be served on our jalapeno cornmeal bread. Yes, it is fabulous.
Today we're out of time, so
Okay.
that is the perfect stopping point, because we're going to have to get one of those.
Yeah,
So look for Jamwich all over town. And
absolutely.
outside of town, too.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me today.
And thank you for being with us on Community Watch. We'll see you next time. Bye now.